I hate to argue with those two gentlemen, but Noam Chomsky was a structural linguist. And his greatest contribution was his understanding of how the human mind acquires language. And he certainly has made a contribution in the political arena, but he made this amazing contribution in his trying to understand how we learn language. He would never say learning, how we acquire language that changed generations of people's opportunities. And so I think that's pretty amazing.
Language in and of itself is an interesting thing, because there is, it's interesting how this name has come up 3 times and 3 rather different perspectives, defining it 3 very different ways. And you should hear what he's saying now.
I once had a cat named Noam Chomsky, named for the linguist, who was really badly cross-eyed and ran into a lot of things because he was preoccupied with his deep structures. He was a really good cat. So this wonderful opportunity has presented itself in my life, and it's a chance to lay out a grid in a way that I think I have asked for forever. And probably like many people in this room, when the actual opportunity to lay out the grid differently and to, it's not about the manifestation exactly, it's about creating the energy framework in which certain kinds of things that I value really deeply can occur with and for other people. And what I would like to ask Abraham and Jerry, because he always gave me the best linear answers ever, is what are the steps that we go through in laying out an energetic grid for ourselves that's meant to be a container, a field?
Well, it's easier than you know, because the piece that you forget, and everybody does to some degree, but hardworking people are the ones who forget it most often. And that is, do I want to do it? Does it feel fun? In other words, how does it feel in terms of my personal, is it something I want to do? Not something I should do, not something that needs to be done. Is it something I want to do? Does it make me, does my heart sing in the idea of the beginning steps? And if the answer to that is, I don't know, then it's too soon. Or if the answer is, no, I'm doing it because I should, then...
That's a great question. That's perfect. I know what I want, which is the feeling of the hands in the clay. It is the feeling of communication. It is the feeling of unfolding. It is the feeling of the flow. It is the feeling of being with. It is the feeling of participating together in an expansion that's more than either of us.
You know those games you play where you say, which thing here doesn't fit? The kids play the games. It's all the things in the picture and what thing doesn't fit. Communication was the thing that didn't fit in there. Because everything else was about feeling, but the communication is in the trying to explain it.
Not necessarily. When I think about communication, that's not what I think about. I think about partnership. I think about receiver and transmitter. I think about transaction.
You didn't mean words?
Doesn't have to be words. It's the feeling of it. So the question, so I know what I want, and what I don't know is, can I intentionally do work? I don't have another word for this. Can I take this opportunity and turn it into the things that I just am clear I want?
Will this opportunity turn into what I want?
can I co-create with this opportunity for it to feel the way I want it to feel?
But feel the difference in what we're guiding here, because as you identify the establishing of a vibrational grid, doesn't it fill itself in? Do you have to turn it into something? And if you have the feeling that you're going to have to do some of the turning it into something, then your grid isn't where you think it is or where you want it to be quite yet.
That's okay. So this is the question about the grid. Is that...
You understand what we're saying about the grid? In other words, it's the grid, it's that going general. The grid is knowing how I want to feel. I know how I want to feel. I don't know how I'm going to do it or when it's going to come or where it's going to come from or who's going to bring it, but I know how I want to feel when it gets there. I don't even need to define what gets there. I just know it's because I want to, in other words, I want to be of value. I want to be of assistance. I want people to find resolution in their interaction with me. I want it to be meaningful. I want it to be big. I want it to represent the bigness of what I've been working toward. I want it to be understood. I want it to be well received. I want it to feel comfortable as that unfolds. Those are feelings, and they are general, and that's the grid. And so when you use anything you can to stimulate those feelings within you, rather than trying to work on the project or even identify if this opportunity is the right one, just feel around that and keep amplifying within yourself how you want to feel, then the unfolding occurs and you recognize it when it comes. It's the difference between allowing it and banging it into place.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. So, oh, wow. That's hard for a hardworking person to let go of.
Really hard. Really hard. And there are those who would say it's your ego is the problem. But we're talking about your focus being, but it's this is the subtle difference that we're all reaching to define. And it's that if you believe that you are a creator and that the way you create is by achieving a vibration that law of attraction responds to, then shouldn't every effort that you offer, hardworking person that you are, or shouldn't the majority of the effort that you offer be about producing the emotion or the feeling and trusting that the rest will fill in, because it will. This is the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart thing that we talk about with most people. Most people say, I want to feel a certain way, and I think that avenue will get me there. So they focus on that avenue, and then they get sidetracked. Where if they would focus on how they want to feel, a myriad of avenues would show themselves to them to get there. There is not an opportunity. There are opportunities
everywhere around us. So I want to ask this question about aging. Is it just the habit of vibration and the habit of resistance that is what we experience as aging?
And intention from non-physical. In other words, wanting exposure to in the same way that you brilliantly brought yet a third perspective to the name that had already been offered. Every phase of your life brings another perspective that adds a richness to the, and if you remained the same, that richness would not happen. It's varied perspective that adds to the richness of the whole, because from the source level, the grid is really well known.
I can feel it.
And
I can feel it.
And it can be filled in lots of different stages of life experience.
So the attractive thing about this opportunity is it feels like it can be a new life stage. It can be, the 9th life, and I only thought there were going to be 3, so this has turned out really well, and really scary, and really wonderful. And
well, it's some of those things, but some of that doesn't fit in the picture. In other words,
well, the scariest part is confronting the closets to move, if you know what I mean. Remember Esther and her closets full of stuff. It has the feeling of excitement that I take as an indicator of, yeah, it's a good thing to do. It has the feeling of openness.
Well, we have said to people at less evolved places in the creative discussion. Play it out in your mind both ways and see which feels better. Make a decision to do it and live with that for 2 or 3 days and see how it feels. Make a decision not to do it and play it out for 3 or 4 days. But that was before we had the profound discussion about the vibrational emotional grid. In other words, you have enough knowledge about how you want to feel and why you want to feel the way you want to feel, that if you will just sit tight for a little while, the answer will express itself to you in undeniable terms. And anytime you feel like you need to figure it out, you're pushing something, and what you're always pushing, you're pushing the action part, the deciding part, rather than ramping up or shoring up the vibrational part. So we're not talking about a long period of time. We're just saying focus upon how you want to feel and why you want to feel that way. What are the best feeling parts of it, and just live with them and practice them and resonate with them and get them dominant in your vibration.